the caves I've ever gone in, this one just made my body vibrate. The closer I got to it, the crazier my body felt, and I was like, all right, I'm not going to go in there right now, but I'm coming back someday.
The desolate and dry desert north of Las Vegas. The setting of a baffling mystery that has captivated the imagination of people across the internet.
It came down this valley,
with several million following the story online.
This is a canyon I just walked up in.
It all began in 2014, when a YouTube user calling himself Snakebit McGee posted a video about having an otherworldly experience as he approached a mysterious hidden cave, shaped like a capital M, somewhere in the Sheep Mountains, close to the U.S. government's Nevada Test and Training Range, the largest adjoining military air and ground space in the free world. This government land is home to both Nellis Air Force Base and Area 51, the infamous highly secretive government testing site, which urban legend says houses the wreckage of alien spacecraft and possibly aliens themselves. Snakebit McGee's strange experience and the mystery that followed is leading people to draw their own conclusions. Did he stumble onto government secrets near Area 51?
I can't comment on Area 51.
Did he fall victim to desert outlaws?
There are certain places out there where a body could be hidden.
Or to the desert itself?
It's brutal. This desert has been claiming lives for thousands of years.
There's mountain lions out here.
We are seeking to find the answer to what happened to YouTube user Snakebit McGee, a.k.a. Kenny Veach.
Hi, my name is Kenny.
Kenny, he was fun. He was just fun.
Always smiling. He was a really happy guy.
Fuzzy little lamb.
He loved having fun. He was really funny. He always had me laughing.
Watch this.
He just had this ability to connect with people.
Hold on. Now watch this.
He could talk to them, and he would just inspire. And it was all this energy, this life that was inside of him.
This is my tarantula in here. I'll get. Dun, 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 dun. She's a beauty.
Clever. He was very clever.
It's very heavy because it used to be a steel bar, just a steel bar, and I bent it into a circle and cut it.
Definitely multifaceted. He liked a lot of different things.
I created this little thing myself, and the sand I found in 2 different deserts.
Kenny is a man of many passions, but most of them revolve around one thing:
The desert.
He saw how beautiful the desert was, and the wonder and the life that's there.
It's definitely a desert tortoise. I think he's acting like a rock, so I don't mess with him.
A lot of people that haven't been raised in the desert, they just see, a barren wasteland, but it is anything but that. There's so much life out there, so many different types of plants and creatures.
There'd be like a board, in the middle of the desert. He'd flip it up and be like, oh, see, there's a rattlesnake underneath there.
Kenny would head out alone far beyond cell coverage, exploring the wonders of the desert.
I find dried things that most people consider weeds, and I'll put that in a jar. These are seed pods that I find on my hikes, and I put them around.
He would seek out old deserted towns and mines and hunt for treasures that most of us call junk. He would use them as decor.
There's so much stuff from old ghost towns that are just disappearing out here in Las Vegas. This car had been washed down this old wash of a mountain that I was climbing, and I found that in the trunk.
The desert had always been a big part of his life.
This is something I got on one of my hikes.
He grew up here, just outside the city of Las Vegas.
That was our life as children. Just leaving the house, and we'd just head out into the desert and hike and look and find critters and just explore. It's what we did.
I just came across these, and they have just opened and dropped gigantic sweet pine nuts, or pinion nuts, whatever you want to call them. They're perfect. I'm a happy camper.
Kenny spent so much time in the Mojave Desert that he seemed to be untethered from the grim realities of this unforgiving landscape.
If there was one thing to describe him, nature man.
The one thing I do know about Kenny is he was an amazing hiker as far as distance. He used to pride himself on how far can I hike, how far can I go without drinking a lot of water.
It's kind of dangerous, and I try to pretend like I don't have any supplies. You know, I bring water and I bring something to eat, but I haven't eaten anything since I started this hike, and I've only had 2 small gulps of water.
He was a very good hiker, and he amazed me.
It starts turning into cliffs and stuff that I got to start climbing down. It gets a little hairy.
We love to hike, not on trails, off trail. We did, I call it wild hiking, kind of like wild camping. It's not a campground. It wasn't a hiking trail. We just trailblazed through the desert. And sometimes we would spend 9 hours together in the desert. But usually his hikes by himself were overnight trips.
So I slept up in these mountains, and it's pretty high.
And they were never really usually one night. It was always 2, possibly 4 nights, because he could carry enough water with him.
I'll put a pack on and hike up to 15 to 20 miles just to get to the mountain. And then I'll climb all the way to the top of the mountain. No matter how I got to get there, I climb and climb and climb. And when I get to the top, I spend the night, no matter how many times I feel like spending the night, however long my water supply lasts. And I come back down the mountain a different way.
And it was during one of these far off the beaten path nature hikes where Kenny said he stumbled upon the mysterious cave that he claimed was emitting some kind of seemingly supernatural force. And that's where the mystery begins.
Every time I go out into the desert exploring, I think what could have happened to Kenny.
Eric Cacinero is a journalist and author of the book Odyssey of a Ghost Town Explorer. He has studied the Veach case extensively and wrote an article about Kenny for Nevada Magazine in 2019. He is fascinated with the story that evolved after Veach posted about his unlikely encounter with the mysterious desert cave.
When Kenny posted his comment, people naturally kind of called him out on it. And, you know, said, where's the proof? So Kenny's mission after that was to go out and show proof of this cave.
I told him, hey, I'm coming out here, you know, because they kind of called my hand on it.
And so he went out to the place where he had gone before, which is located about an hour north of Las Vegas in the Sheep Range.
Kenny, a.k.a. Snakebit McGee, armed with the pistol and his video camera, set out to document his search for the M-shaped cave that had terrified him on his first encounter. And his persistence in finding the cave would lead only to more questions.
No, something's just not right here.
And wild theories.
They have all kinds of electronic equipment out there that detects you, that you can't see, of course.
At Domino's, unlike other delivery apps that add...
Kenny Veach was on a hike through the desolate Mojave Desert when he encountered a cave on the side of a mountain that he said sent terrifying vibrations through his body. After posting about the odd experience, Kenny was encouraged by web users to return to the cave and seek answers.
My mission today is to just do a one-day hike. It's about a 10-hour hike. I got to still go over another ridge and then go all the way down a big crevice that's real narrow and gets kind of scary. And I'm looking for a cave that I found, and I didn't have a sidearm when I was here before.
What Kenny produced on his journey was the now infamous M-Cave hike video.
Hopefully I'll find that cave. It's like back over there somewhere.
His M-Cave hike is a wandering, lighthearted journey.
Whew, I'm going to be worn out, but that beer's going to taste good.
Kenny takes us across mountains and through canyons.
Yeah, a little bit of drop off. I think I should be able to scale down these bushes.
He spotted animals, including a desert tortoise.
He's neat looking.
And bighorn sheep.
Look at him. That's why I love coming out here. You never know what you're going to see.
He ate pine nuts.
They're everywhere.
And by all accounts, Kenny seemed to be enjoying himself.
There's some interesting stuff coming up here. Look at that.
But the one thing he did not accomplish...
There's lots of little caves, but they're not the kind of cave I'm looking for.
...was find anything resembling an M-Cave.
Well, I did not find the cave. That is so weird.
When Kenny returned home and posted the video, it was not long before the comments began streaming in.
People, yet again, start calling him out, you know, pretty much saying, okay, well, you went out to find this cave, you know, and you said it exists, and then you posted this video and there is no cave still. So YouTube users kind of egged him on a little bit. But one comment stands out as being ominous in the comment section, and it said, "No, don't go back out to that cave. If you end up finding them cave, you won't get out." And so that comment has since been deleted off of YouTube.
It wasn't just Kenny's claims of the cave's strange vibrations that triggered all the comments. It was its location.
Being that its proximity was so close to Nellis Air Force Base and Area 51, a cave of this nature just seems kind of mysterious.
So with the growing social media interest in the M Cave, Kenny promises online to give it one more try.
I think Kenny liked the attention. I think he saw this type of content that he was posting stirred emotions in people. I think that he realized that people wanted to see more, and I think he felt obligated to produce more.
So on November 10th, 2014, after parking his vehicle in the Mojave, Kenny started walking.
Las Vegas sits in the middle of the desert. Las Vegas means the meadows, and the reason it was settled here was because there was water here. But the surrounding area is a place where normal travel just doesn't take place. It's a world away.
Nevada is the driest state in the United States. The age-old saying is that you can survive 3 days without water, but that's not the case here in the Mojave Desert. A person, if they're dehydrated, can succumb within a number of hours. During the time around when Kenny went missing, during the day it could have gotten to above 100 degrees and that same night dropped below freezing. The nights are hard to survive. In addition to the water and the elements, there's animals out here. There's rattlesnakes, there's mountain lions.
They perch up on like a rock face or a cliff. They sneak up behind you. You'll never know that they're so quiet and stealth that you'll never know they're there. You'll be walking by and jump on top of your neck and you're done.
And it's not just the wildlife that is a concern.
The thing that worries me the most are the people that are out in the desert. I seen a person when I was hiking one time just have a shovel just digging something. I mean, he's in like in a truck in the middle of like nowhere.
So yeah, there are sketchy people out there. I mean, when I go out there, I'm armed, and so is everyone else.
People live out there, you know, people are very private and secretive out there. And, you know, oftentimes they don't really like people encroaching on their space.
One of the gravest dangers people face in the Mojave isn't always visible on the surface, but hidden deep below it.
Nevada became a state in 1864, and up until that time and past that time, there were lots of places like this that supported the mining economy. There are thousands of miles, literally thousands of miles of abandoned underground mines in this state.
Right now we have over 250,000 abandoned mines in the state of Nevada. Some of these places are built like an ant farm, multiple levels. There's no plans, there's no blueprints for these places.
And oftentimes they're so remote that they're just open. You know, these places are just withering away.
This mine in El Dorado Canyon is open for tours and is safe to enter. But when looking up from below, one can see light spilling in from cracks in the desert high above. And it becomes immediately obvious how unpredictable the desert can be.
They're just open holes in the ground. But when you get to the edge of this little hole that goes straight down 200 feet, I mean, it really makes you think about how careful you need to be.
We had a car that was driving through the desert, and it went through. The floor gave away, the desert gave away, and the car went down into the shaft. And the shaft possibly was up to a mile deep down, and they couldn't get the car out. So the person was actually buried in that car, but they couldn't get him out.
So we left at 6 in the morning. He was supposed to be gone 2 nights, possibly 3 nights.
This is the Sheep Mountain Range where Kenny would do a lot of his extreme hiking in. This is the road that Kenny drove his vehicle on. His vehicle was located up the top of this road about 3 more miles at the trailhead.
There is nothing around the vehicle that, you know, a sign of struggle or that give you any appearance that there was anything amiss.
After finding Kenny's car at the trailhead near Corn Creek Road, a search was conducted in the surrounding desert.
So I know the group that went out to look for him is Red Rock Search and Rescue. They're a good group. They have skilled people. They're very talented at what they do.
We did an initial search of most likely areas that someone may have been on, trails, washes, and things of that sort. Later on, we came back in and did specific missions up to specific locations.
During one of the searches, the team made a discovery that would confound both law enforcement and family. But did it point to an accidental death, or did it hint at something nefarious?
In the realm of possibility, all things are possible.
It's a tantalizing thought that, you know, there could be some military angle to this.
I can't comment about what goes on in different parts of the state by the government.
In late 2014, a man named Kenny Veach claimed he was heading out into the desert to find and enter a mysterious hidden cave that once terrified him.
Out of all the caves I've ever gone in, this one just made my body vibrate.
He had reportedly been warned by an anonymous YouTube user not to proceed.
It said, no, don't go back out to that cave. If you end up finding that cave, you won't get out.
We don't know if Kenny Veach ever found the cave because he seemingly disappeared off the face of the earth. And after an exhaustive search, only one clue emerged. His cell phone and some coins were found near the entrance to a mine shaft. And it happened to be the very same mine shaft at which he had begun his infamous M-Cave hike video.
Well, here I am. This thing, who knows how long it's been out here. This is kind of iffy. I'm going to step on this thing. It's very old. But I'll just show you down inside that hole. It goes way, way, way down in there. If you fell, that'd be it.
Obviously, the mine became an immediate point of interest for search and rescue.
In search and rescue, we do not enter confined spaces. So we reached out to a local agency, City of Henderson Fire Department. They have a team that's trained to do that. So they went down the mine shaft and then found that he was not there.
So if Kenny was not in the mine, where was he? And why did he leave his cell phone there? Or did it simply fall out of his pocket? His family and authorities were left with so many questions and no answers.
They didn't find his backpack, his sleeping bag. We didn't find his gun in his home, so I know he had his gun with him.
He had his spelunking gear. None of that NORAD was ever found. That's just weird.
Kenny Veach, off the grid, gone.
We spent 7 years together. We met at a country western dance hall that I would go to with friends and started dating. I felt like a kid with Kenny most of the time.
Oh, my dad was definitely a kid. He was always playing jokes. Like, he loved to scare people. He scared me so many times just as like a little joke.
He'd always have a slingshot with him, so we'd do, slingshots, and he'd show me how to do a slingshot, and we skipped rocks. He was showing me how to skip rocks. We both love photography, so we took a lot of pictures of flowers. He was my best friend. For me, he was the most fun person I've ever spent time with, and everything I do, I compare to what I did with him, and it falls just a little bit short.
Kenny's playfulness was certainly one of the personality traits that defined his spirit. But Kenny's brand of playful often morphed into adventure.
He used to have me do things like, oh, you can climb that tree. I was like, oh, I don't think so. And he, just step on this branch and that branch and that branch. It's like, okay, I'll try it.
And perhaps adventure pushed him too far.
He was actually bitten by a rattlesnake. He ended up in the hospital, but he loved rattlesnakes.
Good shot of him.
And much of the time Kenny spent in the desert, including his last hike, was alone.
If you go hiking by yourself, first of all, that's a mistake. I mean, I believe that in the buddy system.
There's a mountain over here I want to try to reach today.
But Kenny did seem to love his time alone in the desert.
It took me quite a while to get out of this mountain range.
But I didn't worry about him out there.
Despite Sharon's confidence, she knew he was not playing it safe.
I was a hiker, but I knew how much water to bring. I was a safety hiker. I had a whistle, a mirror. He was not safe when he went hiking in the sense of bringing the right equipment with him.
I didn't bring a whole lot of water, and I only got like one candy bar to get me through, but I like roughing it that way.
He would oftentimes go without water until he absolutely needed it.
I've only had 2 small gulps of water.
which is not really a good way to go about it.
I kind of try to pretend that I'm running out or I don't have it, just so I can see how far I can actually go before I feel like I'm in trouble. That way, if I ever do get in trouble, I know when I should start panicking. So that's a good idea to do that, you know. If I get real thirsty or I get hungry, I could just always reach into my pack, but I like to ration.
Oftentimes when they find deceased hikers in areas like this, they still have water in their water bottles. Spacing it out as far as you possibly can and then finally taking a sip, the body doesn't work that way. Once it starts to shut down, especially in this heat, it shuts down.
And Kenny had another dangerous habit.
Kenny just loved to spelunk.
Spelunking is cave exploration.
There's places where you can go and you can hike down into caves, and they're pretty solid structures. And the cave structures and stuff around Vegas, sandstone, things that are constantly shifting. If it rains, things can break free. You can crawl down into a cave 1,000 times, but it only takes one time for you not to crawl back out.
Perhaps even more dangerous than the caves were the abandoned mines, dark and deep. Kenny was drawn to the secrets inside.
My deal with Kenny was, I'll go into a mine as far as I can see the light, and once we curve, I'm done. I'll meet you at the front of it.
A lot of these places do draw you in with their mystery. There's stuff in there that is very cool to explore, but it's extremely dangerous. People in this state are taught to not explore abandoned mines. It's extremely reckless.
I think what people should learn about Kenny is he is pretty much fearless. He had to test his strength out there, and that is him.
I go where no one goes. I hike over mountaintop after mountaintop and sleep on peaks under the stars. Those are Kenny Veach's words posted on YouTube. I play with rattlesnakes for fun.
And then it just drops down.
So did Kenny simply fall victim to his own adventurous spirit? I have been in more caves than I can count. Did he discover something that he shouldn't have? This one particular cave was beyond anything I had ever encountered. Or is his disappearance part of a master plan?
Somebody's going to see this, and it's gonna change the whole investigation.
This is Nevada ephedra. You boil water, put it in a pot, let it steep for 10 minutes, and you get like an energizing drink. But it'll get you going. Wherever you see shade in the desert, the animals like that shade too. So snakes will curl up underneath a bush. There's wild burros up here. This is their scat. That's how you can tell. Burros, if you see them, they'll lead you to water. You can follow their tracks.
Clint Wharton is an expert at survival in the desert. His motivation for learning how to survive out here stems from 3.5 days he says he spent wandering lost in the Mojave when he was just 15 years old.
It's so hot in the day and cold, freezing at nighttime. I only had like a t-shirt on. So I just started walking around more to get body energy, get my blood flowing and stuff like that. Overall, for the whole experience, I probably only slept maybe 30 minutes of those 3.5 days. I was so dehydrated. I actually started seeing things in front of me. I seen a pack of dogs running through the desert, like just a mix of like 20 dogs. To this day, I don't know if that was real or just a delusion.
But when he spotted the sheriff, it was not a delusion.
The sheriff had a 6-pack of Diet Coke and some chicken fingers. And that's the best chicken finger I ever had in my lifetime.
On November 10th, 2014, Las Vegas area hiker Kenny Veach parked his car deep in the Mojave Desert. It's believed he headed out alone after promising to return to a cave that had once terrified him.
Out of all the caves I've ever gone in, this one just made my body vibrate. The closer I got to it, the crazier my body felt, and I was like, all right, I'm not going to go in there right now, but I'm coming back someday.
After going back out, Kenny never returned. Had he, like 15-year-old Clint, simply become disoriented and then succumbed to the desert? It's possible, but Kenny was immensely familiar with that part of the Mojave.
So I'll be heading down behind this mountain over here in a little canyon that gets kind of scary.
The family was essentially raised on the Sheep Mountain Range, and that was someplace he was very familiar with.
No trails, no trash, no people.
To him, it probably made perfect sense, north, south, east, and west, and this could be found in this direction, and that could be found in that direction.
So if he didn't get lost, had Kenny slipped and fallen, or somehow become victim to one of the many perils of the desert? After more than a dozen searches and no success finding a body, the online community began to speculate on what fate may have befallen Kenny Veach. And due to the proximity of his quest to covert government operations, their interest fell back on the cave.
Kenny reported strange vibrations in his body as he approached the cave. This has led to a lot of speculation on places like Reddit that these vibrations that were causing Kenny to feel uncomfortable were in fact something nefarious. And people have speculated everything from this being a secret entrance to a government base or something that he wasn't supposed to discover. And he came across something that was trying to actively keep him away.
September 2019, a Facebook group is created encouraging people to storm the top-secret U.S. Air Force facility outside Las Vegas, known as Area 51. More than 1 million people sign up for the mission. Though most know it's a joke, many are convinced the government is hiding bombshell evidence of extraterrestrial life.
If there's aliens, they're children of God.
2 local counties declare states of emergency in preparation for a possible invasion. Security is tight. Tensions run high. Media swarm in.
That is a gate into Area 51.
A CNN crew reaches the entrance and quickly learns that's as close as they're going to get.
Plenty of warning signs, plenty of cameras that have been following every move that we make, and I'd say we've been here less than 5 minutes when a white pickup truck pulled up as if out of nowhere. Probably as close to Area 51 as I ever really need to be.
In the end,
I think they were expecting a little bit more violence, if I'm going to be honest.
The tone was mostly playful. There were 2 arrests. 0 aliens uncovered. Still, the conspiracy theories persist.
I think they're hiding something in there.
They might have some parts or whatever from, who knows, a collision, I don't know what.
Perhaps the most widely known is the unsubstantiated belief that Area 51 contains the wreckage of alien spacecraft, and that scientists for years have been trying to reverse engineer this otherworldly technology.
It is a place where there is highly classified projects called black projects that are happening at Area 51, but what they have to do with UFOs and extraterrestrials and aliens, that's another story. But that's added to the mystery and the mystique of this overall area.
I haven't been beamed up for quite a while.
The theory that we aren't alone in the universe seems to be gaining traction. About the same time as the Storm Area 51 event, the U.S. Navy acknowledged declassified footage of purported UFO encounters. Cockpit cameras capture the shock of fighter pilots as they witness unexplained aerial phenomena, or UAP, off the Atlantic coast in 2015. As camera technology continues to develop at breakneck speed, the veil seems to be lifting on certain government secrets. After decades of silence, the CIA finally acknowledged the existence of Area 51, declassifying documents in 2013 and detailing the testing of covert surveillance technology like the U-2 spy plane.
I don't even know what went on there. I was in the CIA a very long time. People that worked out there have told me recently they didn't know all that was going on there, so it will always remain a place of fascination.
Let's not forget this is also the area where they tested atomic bombs.
3, 2, 1. For years, the vast desert was the site of massive atomic bomb testing, both above and below ground.
Gunfire's an atomic show.
Las Vegas was even branding itself as a destination for nuclear tourism. The Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce issued a calendar for tourists, listing the scheduled time of the bomb detonations and the best places to view them. And to this day, military operations and testing are done in that part of Nevada, throughout much of the government land in and around Nellis Air Force Base and Area 51.
There's so much that goes on in the desert. There's so many things that we don't know.
My understanding is that they have all kinds of electronic equipment out there that detects you, that you can't see, of course.
Had Kenny Veach stumbled on some secret military technology? Or is there an explanation for Kenny's disappearance that is even more bizarre?
He went to Kenny's computer and he said, "Come here, I want to show you something."
In 2014, after making a promise to relocate a mysterious hidden cave that once sent vibrations through his body, Kenny Veach seemingly disappeared off the face of the earth. Some subscribe to the wildly speculative ideas that the cave housed a secret government facility, or that the vibrations were some kind of high-tech weaponry being tested, or he experienced something otherworldly and was perhaps snatched up and killed or hidden away. And to this day, an army of online detectives and desert explorers are combing the Sheep Mountain Range, hoping to find Kenny or the cave and the secrets it holds.
So this is where he's looking at the two caves, and these are the two caves he was talking about. Proof that I'm here.
Bo we met is a YouTuber with over 1 million subscribers. He's made a name for himself hunting treasures and searching out historical artifacts. He took an interest in the Kenny Veach case and posted a video of his own hunt for the M Cave.
My goal when I was out there was a search for the M Cave. I followed in Kenny's footsteps using every clue that he gave. A little hairy than I like, actually. You know what? I don't know. I'm not sure which way I'm going to go down yet. You know, I can't really speak for everyone as to why they're going out there and looking for the M Cave or looking for Kenny. But for me, I kind of feel like Kenny is my friend.
I just romp around out here.
Oh, look at there's the bird. Oh, I missed him.
He goofed up all the time. He was tripping all the time.
Ow! I tripped.
Makes you love the guy. People have a connection with that.
Ow! Ooh! I almost fell.
And I think people are fascinated with caves in general because, it's the unknown. And I think it really grabs people's imagination. There are lots of people out there that come up with these wild theories. And, they could be right. I don't know.
It's a tantalizing thought that, there could be some military angle to this.
My name is Dave Shepard. I live here in Las Vegas.
Dave Shepard spent 24 years in the FBI.
I've been through almost every area of the state.
And although he was not open to discuss the subject of secret projects in these areas,
I can't comment about what goes on in different parts of the state by the government.
He did lend his opinion on whether Kenny could have stumbled onto some government project.
That's not an issue, but I would take a look at where he was. Just nothing really there. Desert.
But what if Kenny did happen to stumble onto some military base or government installation?
They certainly don't, bury you in the desert or harm you. They simply detain you and call somebody and have you removed. Or they more than likely just give you an opportunity to leave, on your own.
But some of Bo's followers and others interested in the case seem to just not buy it.
There are a lot of things out there we don't know about. Strange things do happen. I've spent a lot of time in the desert camping by myself. And sometimes I see things that make me wonder. So, yeah, there could be some truth to these wild conspiracies that you're seeing people commenting about.
And what else might have caused Kenny to experience the sensations he says overcame him at the entrance to the M Cave?
There might have been something coming out of there that was creating and causing this. There's multiple different things, both real and imagined, that can cause this.
The possibility that he felt something is real. It made me think of Sedona, Arizona, where suppose that's a place where people go to feel the vibrations. So there could be something potentially geological about that.
I've been in a lot of caves. If you've ever been in one to start with, they are extremely, extremely quiet. You can hear a pin drop in some of them. You hear when a drop of water comes down from the ceiling. The state of Nevada also has earthquakes, so we do have a lot of vibration. You magnify that in your mind as well. But you also have physical type trauma you go through at the same time. Remember, because you've been in a desert for a long time, you're walking around, you could be dehydrated, and you're in there, your adrenaline's way up.
The M Cave. Secret military installation, amplifier of subterranean seismic activity, or a figment of Kenny Veach's imagination.
The M cave actually is very interesting to me. Kenny never actually said anything to me about the M cave, and I saw on his YouTube M cave, and I thought, well, that's really interesting that he didn't say anything to me about the M cave.
One thing that was kind of odd to me is he videotaped everything, but there's no footage or anything of this cave that I've seen or know of. So that just didn't seem like him.
And there are several inconsistencies between Kenny's stories. At the beginning of the M Cave video, he talks about how the M Cave was on the side of a mountain, is what he said.
It's stuck on the side of a mountain.
And then as he's walking through the slot canyon, he says it's at ground level.
It's about level with the ground, like in an area like this.
So does the M Cave only exist in Kenny's creative mind? And if so, why?
He was an entertainer.
I thought for sure I was just going to be able to find it. That is so weird.
We get all these followers, he's getting views on his videos. That would be incentive.
Coming up, new evidence hints at the possibility Kenny could still be alive.
You can see that it does detect a face.
And secrets from his computer.
He went to Kenny's computer and he said, come here, I want to show you something.
My dad, a little less than a year before this hike, he decided to quit his job.
Kenny Veach had been a service technician at a coffee company for 17 years.
He had enough money saved up.
I decided about a year ago that I was going to kind of strike out on my own and go live the life I wanted to live.
He really wanted to open his own decorating company. He wanted to call it Cowboy Design. I think that was the name of it.
And I've reached a point in my life where I want to do it my way. I want to live my life the way I see fit.
He took a chance. He took a chance with his income and with everything he had to try and make this dream materialize.
I just create.
Another one of his dreams? Sell inventions.
I turned this into a super cool laser tag game.
So the inventing part came along with looking at how to earn extra money.
I am the inventor of the Glolar Bear, as in glow-in-the-dark polar bear.
Shark Tank was absolutely a goal of his. We watched it together.
Hello, people of Shark Tank.
And he just thought, okay, I can do this, and I'll sell something that, creates money for me so I don't have to work for anybody else.
I invented the new improved toilet paper roll holder.
Super cool, some of the things that he put together and actually engineered.
You just pull that, put the other one in, and let go.
Pity that they never ever made it.
I guess he had invested quite a bit of money into his inventions and lost a lot of money.
He had gone through much of his, if not pretty much all of his retirement.
Was it his desperation that drove Kenny to cultivate the M Cave mystery on YouTube?
It's about as tall as I am and kind of narrow.
Was it another creative attempt at making money to improve his finances?
I'm going to go out and look for it. It scared me. It had this resonance. I'm coming back with a gun. He made a big production of it.
And if it was his next money-making endeavor, he may have been onto something.
After Kenny posted the M Cave video showing that he wasn't able to locate the M Cave, it generated a lot of response. I think that Kenny liked the response.
After all, his popularity was growing on social media. In the next hour, could Kenny have orchestrated his own disappearance? Security camera footage leaves that question open.
It was definitely him. The only thing I could think of is life insurance policy, and whoever's name is the beneficiary could collect money on it.
If my theory is true and he did go off to live his own life, knowing my dad, I guarantee he would do absolutely anything and everything to stay low.
Hour 2 of Mojave Mystery, Vanished in the Desert, starts now. In 2014, a YouTube user calling himself Snakebit McGee claimed to have stumbled on a cave shaped like a capital M somewhere in the Mojave Desert.
It's about as tall as I am and kind of narrow. And and it's stuck on the side of a mountain.
He described a terrifying vibration that overcame his body.
The closer I got to it, the crazier my body felt.
And led him to flee the area.
I was like, all right, I'm not going to go in there right now, but I'm coming back someday.
Snakebit McGee was a prolific desert hiker.
I came down one mountain, I dropped down inside this canyon.
Whose real name is Kenny Veach.
This is the kind of food that saves your life.
He had grown up outside of Las Vegas and knew this desert like the back of his hand.
I gotta go past that mountain way out there and then just keep on going. It's along here somewhere.
He claimed the mysterious cave was located in the Sheep Mountain Range, not far from the U.S. government's Nevada Test and Training Range, which houses both Nellis Air Force Base and Area 51. After mentioning the terrifying cave experience, he was implored by others on social media to head back out to the cave and provide proof.
It kind of called my hand on it. I'm going in there, I'm gonna put on my light, take my gun out, and walk in there, see if I find anything.
But one anonymous YouTuber reportedly posted a warning, saying if he goes into the cave, he will not get out. Kenny may have ignored the warning and ventured back out in search of the mysterious cave. During this hike, he seemingly disappeared off the face of the earth.
Kenny Veach, off the grid, gone.
His story and disappearance generated massive online interest.
There's a lot of interest in this.
Countless people took part in the discussion of what happened to Kenny. And 7 years later, internet detectives are still obsessed. New comments and theories are posted seemingly every day on social platforms like Reddit and YouTube.
A lot of weird theories about what's going on out there.
Did he die of natural causes? Had he stumbled on a secret U.S. government installation? Did he get abducted by aliens near Area 51, as some have wildly speculated? Or is there another possible explanation for Kenny Veach's disappearance?
I decided about a year ago that I was going to kind of strike out on my own and make money the way I want to make money.
Kenny had left his long-standing full-time job, seeking to create a new life where he was his own boss.
Hello, people of Shark Tank.
But his business ideas and entrepreneurial goals seemed to be falling short.
He had gone through much of his, if not pretty much all of his retirement.
Did he concoct the M Cave as part of an elaborate disappearing act?
He's smart enough to do that.
4 years after his disappearance, footage from a security camera, according to a family member, may support that notion.
When I first found out that he was missing, I was like, oh my God, he's done it. You know, went without water, he fell, he's dead. And then the next thing I know, this video popped up and it was about the Enchanted Forest Reiki Center.
Someone had broken into a business owned by the wife of Kenny's brother, Ray, in Las Vegas.
As soon as I saw that, I go, oh. And I watched it and my heart stopped. As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh my God, that's Kenny.
And Kenny Veach's sister-in-law, Susan Veach, claims she isn't the only one who felt that way.
And finally I said, you know what, I gotta get in touch with his daughter, Vicky. So she's on the phone with me and she Googles it and she's like, oh my God, Susan, that's my dad.
My biggest theory about his disappearance would be that he was just over it. I'm done, I'm gonna go find a new life, and just dropping everything.
If you are choosing to do a disappearing act and leave your troubles behind because you're getting, you're in a bad relationship or you're depressed, the valley is full of people that voluntarily have decided they don't want to be part of the community.
If he just wants to desert dwell his whole life, then he could probably do that.
If my theory is true and he did go off to live his own life, knowing my dad, I guarantee he would do absolutely anything and everything to stay low.
And Susan Veach believes Kenny had a motive.
You come up with this mystical M cave and you get all these followers and then you disappear. He's getting subscribers, he's getting views on his videos.
Snakebit McGee now has over 41,000 subscribers. And the M Cave hike video has over 2 million views and counting.
That would be incentive.
We reached out to YouTube to ask if Kenny's account has earned any money from his videos and how much he potentially could have earned. We did not hear back by deadline. Susan has other thoughts as well.
Maybe a life insurance policy, and whoever's name is a beneficiary could collect money on it.
My Aunt Susan thinks that there's a life insurance policy taken out on my dad, which I thought was a little bit crazy, but you never know.
We asked Detective Holly about Kenny Veach's possible life insurance policy.
I'm not aware that we ever found anything on life insurance on Mr. Veach.
But he did admit that does not mean there isn't one.
It's pretty difficult just to determine if a person does have life insurance unless somebody shares that information with you or you're able to find it in their financial documents. But if it's something that they pay for in some other fashion, then it's really difficult to find it.
And as of 7 years after Kenny's disappearance, no one had petitioned the court to collect any of Kenny Veach's property. When we come back, the break-in video seems strangely calculated.
He looked to see if something were there and then moved on.
And what other hints might have been found by police.
He went to Kenny's computer and did a history search, and he said, "Come here, I want to show you something."
Seasoned hiker Kenny Veach vanishes into the sands of the Mojave Desert, and amateur sleuths soon light up the internet with theories, some fantastical and bizarre, others more plausible, including the idea that Kenny staged his own disappearance to escape the stresses of his life and finances. There are those in his family that fully believe Kenny is alive.
I have kind of a gut feeling that he is.
And one family member was made a believer because of a security video of a break-in that happened 4 years after Kenny Veach disappeared in the desert.
I watched it 20 times, like over and over again. The body, the looks, the clothing, the hairline, the forehead, the eyebrows, everything. It was definitely him.
Once Susan made up her mind that this was indeed Kenny Veach, her reaction was not what you might expect.
To be honest, it hurts me that he would do something like that, because he has one daughter and one granddaughter, and they're hurting. I'm just plain angry at this point now. Search and Rescue has invested a lot of time and money. You can't have a conscience and know that you're okay and know that people are coming out here looking for you, and all these innocent people are going out in the desert looking for this mysterious MK, and somebody's going to get hurt and your conscience doesn't bother you. That's not right.
And what is Susan hoping to achieve?
You know what? I don't care if Kenny gets arrested. I don't need him in prison. He didn't do anything to me, but his daughter deserves the truth.
I'm not really sure what I would say to him if he was still out there. I'd probably be a little bit upset, like, Dad. But I know that I'd be happy if he wanted to be left alone. It's like, okay, as long as I know you're okay and I finally have an answer, go ahead, live your life, Dad.
We asked Susan if this is true. How does she think that he pulled it off?
I think he went out in the desert. I think it was planned. And for him to stage it, left his cell phone right next to an abandoned mine. Who does that? Who falls in an abandoned mine? Oh, I'm going to fall. I guess I better take my phone out and leave it on a rock because I feel like I'm going to fall. This whole thing's staged. He could be living in Mexico.
But police say slipping off to Mexico or trying to create any kind of meaningful life in the future would be very challenging.
If he ever applied for a work card, a driver's license, or anything else, he would be found.
It's not like the movies where you know somebody in the basement that can make a new driver's license. You would have to have incredible connections to do that. Now, do fugitives disappear and create new identities? Yeah, it does happen. But usually they have a support system that's behind them as well.
So amid an abundance of speculation and hoping to get a definitive answer on whether the perpetrator in the break-in is or is not Kenny Veach, we enlisted the help of George Joseph, a surveillance expert who has been working to catch cheating gamblers in Las Vegas since 1974.
There's all kinds of interesting things in the background here. Why didn't you go for any of those? Why didn't you look for valuables?
Another curious thing about the video is that the perpetrator moves so very fast that the entire break-in takes about 42 seconds.
As somebody that wants to find things that they could sell, they ransack the place. This kid didn't ransack anything.
If you watch the video, he climbs in the window. He goes in and immediately he goes around the counter.
The perpetrator puts his hand under the desk in 2 different places. He does not seem to find what he is looking for.
And then you see him go back and he drops something on the floor and it rolls, possibly like a flashlight or something, picks it up, and then as he's going out the window, he grabs that iPad.
So the thief seems to have made off with just one valuable item, an iPad.
So maybe he wanted to stay in communication with the world and see what was going on. Maybe his laptop broke. Maybe he couldn't resurface to buy one. Who knows?
But why would a suspect spend time searching in 2 very specific places below the desk? Did he think something was there? Was it because he had been in this shop in the past?
In the day, we used to keep a gun under the desk, or you put an alarm button under the desk to signal somebody, or turn off the alarm, or an extra key, or a key for a file cabinet, or a combination to a safe. It seems like a silly place, but a lot of people kept things under their desk. His mannerisms, his shape looks like Kenny Veach. Whether it's him or not, I don't know. If you had to say, am I 100% certain that it's not him, I'd say no. He came back to somebody that was in his past, his brother. The person in that video looked like a man on a mission looking for something specific. Maybe he was looking for something that we're not aware of. And then got out.
George recommended a more definitive way to possibly confirm the image is that of Kenny Veach.
There are some amazing technologies out there that do this kind of analytic work and can more accurately dissect video.
So we contacted a company that can use facial recognition technology to determine if 2 different images are likely the same person. They agreed to run some stills from the video through their system. The mysterious disappearance of a long-distance desert hiker after he says he experienced a strange sensation near sensitive government land in Nevada.
This one just made my body vibrate.
Fuels a growing debate.
A lot of weird theories about what's going on out there in the desert.
Some believe there were nefarious forces involved in the disappearance of Kenny Veach. But after blurry security camera footage shows up years later from a break-in at a business owned by his brother's wife, there is further speculation that Kenny may be alive. We contacted a company called Biometrica, a software and data company that aims to fight crime utilizing facial recognition, among other things. One of their programs can determine if 2 different images are likely the same person. Kevin King walked us through the process by video conference. He started with one still image of Kenny.
And so we've uploaded the image here, and we've performed a detection, and it is 99.99% confident that we have found a face in the image.
At this point, the technology has simply identified a face in the image.
The next thing we would do is to open up the video we would want to work with and scrub through that video in an attempt to find some good image shots where we can see the person, say, facing directly at the camera, head is not tilted, and then we capture those stills out of the video, and then we crop them. We may enhance them as well to, say, change contrast or things like that to give the facial recognition algorithms their best chance of detecting a person. Here, for instance, is one of the better images we were able to grab from the security video, and you can see that it does detect a face, but although it says 99.47, that actually means it's not particularly confident that there is a good usable face in that image. It just means that it found one. Here's another image that we captured, and you can see that this image is so distorted and so blurry that it's not even confident it can find a face in this image. This video is low quality, primarily because it's an infrared camera image. So infrared images tend to be of much lower quality because, especially in surveillance cameras, they tend not to put high quality image sensors in those.
So Kevin used the best image capture he could find to do the comparison.
We perform our comparison, and the application indicates that there is no match found. It could be a number of things. It could be that the image quality is just too low. It could be that it's not Kenny Veach, and there's no way for us to be able to tell the difference between the two, essentially. If the image was of higher quality, we could probably make a determination about whether or not it was Kenny Veach, but because of the image quality being so low, I can't determine one way or the other if it was or if it was not him.
Despite the inconclusive results, when Susan Veach watches the video, she is confident it is Kenny. So confident that she sent the video to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police.
I contacted Metro, and I've never heard anything back. So that's where we sit right now.
And it was almost a year after we first spoke to Kenny's daughter, Victoria, when we became aware of the surveillance video. So we asked her about Susan's claim that she thought it was Kenny. Victoria said she really does think the man in the video looks like her father, but has since come to the conclusion that it's likely not him. We also reached out to Kenny's brother, Raymond, asking if it ever crossed his mind that the burglary suspect could actually be Kenny. He's adamant that it's not his brother and says Kenny didn't even know about the store. Ray tells us that he provided the surveillance video to the police early on. Perhaps most notably, he says that if Kenny were still alive, he wouldn't have stayed in Las Vegas. Instead, he more likely would be back east to be with a family member. We had early on asked him about the possibility that his brother is alive.
Is he still wandering around? In the realm of possibility, all things are possible. I don't think that he would be able to walk away from, very least, his daughter. I don't think he would have been able to walk away and leave her all of this time in that doubt, in that fear, and that not knowing.
Police say claims that the man in the video could be Kenny Veach could not be confirmed, and the break-in has gone unsolved. When we asked whether the scene was checked for fingerprints, Las Vegas police told us the area touched by the suspect was a high-traffic area, so prints ultimately were not taken. And despite finding no trace at all of Kenny's remains over the past 7 years, investigators say sometimes the desert just doesn't give up its bodies.
I mean, look at it the other way. You have planes that they haven't found. You have an airplane that goes down, hits a mountain. We don't know where it went off the radar. How long does it take to find a missing plane? Sometimes it takes years to even find a missing plane.
The expansiveness is just beyond comprehension. To somebody arriving out there like a search group, it's almost an impossibility.
Finding him was not just finding a needle in a haystack, it was finding a needle in a cornfield. You know, there's so many ways to have gone past and overlooked.
People think that the desert is flat and you should be able to stand up on a rock and see some old boy dead 2 miles away. Obviously that doesn't work. There are crevasses and shafts of all different kinds.
They could have walked right by his body and not found it. But yeah, the nature of the terrain is really critical to this disappearance.
So what did the investigation look like? And why do police think Kenny died in the desert?
So you're going to run his criminal history, you're going to run his driver's license, get his photograph, you're going to start putting a case file together. You try to find out where he may have last used a debit card or a credit card. Did he purchase gas, or did he purchase a sleeping bag or something that might give us a direction that he might be traveling? But it didn't show that he used a debit card or a credit card beyond that day. The people that we spoke to in this case was, of course, the reporting person, which was the ex-girlfriend, the daughter, and the brother. So the daughter and brother we obtained familial DNA from, so we entered into the database.
Sharon says she accompanied police while they searched Kenny's home.
One of the things that the police did, I think there were like 4 people that came in. One fella, he went to Kenny's computer and did a history search, and he said, "Come here, I want to show you something."
A search of Kenny Veach's computer reveals something shocking that adds a massive new twist to the investigation. In November 2014, desert explorer Kenny Veach disappeared under mysterious conditions while hiking in the vast Mojave Desert of Nevada. Did he fall victim to the treacherous terrain, or did he stumble on secret technology near the U.S. military's covert Area 51, as some have speculated? Others believe he merely walked away, leaving his old life behind. But police have another theory, which leads us straight to Kenny's beloved home.
Hi, my name is Kenny, and I have an offer. A proposal, if you will. And it has to do with the house that I am standing in.
Kenny's house was his pride and joy.
It's beautiful in every way. It's perfect and clean, and there's not a spot anywhere on any of the walls.
Kenny had spent countless hours designing the interior with custom homemade decor.
These curtains, I purchased these big pieces of pig suede leather, and I sewed them together and shaped them just the way I wanted to, and I made these leather belt tie-backs.
The entire house was an expression of Kenny's imaginative and adventurous spirit.
I converted this into a propane stove. I love quality art.
It's a stunningly beautiful home, absolutely pristine. It was like going to this really beautiful museum. Every square inch of it was all like this country-themed museum of Nevada history.
He invested blood, sweat, and tears in that house.
I really don't do a shabby job. When it comes to doing something, I make sure I do it right. I could do a pull-up on this thing. Very sturdy.
He was so proud of it.
This house has so much ambiance.
But less than a year after quitting his job, and after his failed attempts at getting his own business off the ground, Kenny was putting his years-long project and beloved home up for sale.
What I plan on doing is selling this home in a unique, kind of an unusual fashion.
I think normal people who were encountering these money problems and needed to sell their home would have just sold the home.
What I'm offering is this house that I'm standing in, this beautiful, gorgeous home, and I'm selling myself with the home. What I mean by that is I would become a caretaker.
That style of that Kenny came up with on his own, trying to sell the house while still being able to live in the house, kind of speaks to his character. I mean, Kenny would think of these bizarre way of doing things, and in his mind could make them work, but unfortunately in reality they didn't always work out that way.
Kind of like Alice from the Brady Bunch, she took care of all those kids' needs, along with the cooking and the cleaning and all the things that she did.
You know, his house isn't the Hearst Castle, so they don't really need a caretaker. And that to me is a person that doesn't want to let go of the house, but needs money.
I think that his life was running into some serious issues.
I'm looking for a person who would like to keep the home exactly as I've created it.
I think the house video did seem like it was a little bit out of desperation that he was attempting to sell his home.
I know that when I would talk to him, he would seem a little bit more just down. Because usually when I would talk to him, he was like, hey, Vicky, blah, 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 you know, like super happy. But, you know, after a while, it was just kind of like sad talking to him.
It seemed as though Kenny Veach's life was crumbling in parallel with the M Cave narrative, and behind the veil of his energetic videos was a broken man.
I think he was depressed.
I asked him one morning, I said, have you ever thought you might have depression? He said, yes, I've had depression issues for a long time. He said, it's like not having an arm. You just get used to it. So Kenny, he wasn't emotionally okay at the time he was hiking. When he disappeared, we actually had met to go to a movie the night before he left for hiking. And he wanted to see, and I hated the movie, it was Birdman with Michael Keaton, and he committed suicide at the end of the movie. And when we were done with the movie, we had two separate cars because we came from two different places, and we were standing at the back of my car, and he got ready to go to his car, and I could feel the sadness that he was in at that point. And I said, Kenny, come back. I want to give you another hug. I didn't ask him to come back a second time to give him another hug for no reason. I sensed something. I knew his sadness was there.
The very next day at 6 a.m. in the morning, police say Kenny set off on his final adventure. And days later, with permission of the family, police entered his home in search of clues to the disappearance.
We went through, we found things that he'd written. We'd found poems. We'd found journals that where he was talking about his frustrations and his depression.
One of the things that the police did, I think there were like 4 people that came in. One fella, he went to Kenny's computer and did a history search, and he said, come here, I want to show you something. And then there was a message that he had typed, and how he got into all this, I have no idea, because I don't know how to pull things up like that. But the message said, help me, help me, help me, help me, probably 50, 60 times, just help me. And that was what was on his computer.
And during the investigation, Sharon shared with police something that Kenny had told her in the past that could explain why Kenny's body was never found. In 2014, a man named Kenny Veach parked his car in the Mojave Desert. It's believed he headed out into the desolate landscape on foot, alone. He never returned. His former girlfriend says police investigating the disappearance stumbled on a strange message written on his computer.
The message said, help me, help me, help me, help me, probably 50, 60 times, just help me. And that was what was on his computer.
The message further pointed to the possibility of some intense depression or inner conflict.
His dad committed suicide, and I think Kenny was 20 or 21 at the time. And so that was, I'm sure, one of the things in his life that caused him to think about suicide. And he said that he had thoughts about and of suicide from the time he was 21 years old, after his dad died.
So after talking with those closest to Kenny, including Sharon, Victoria, and Ray, after using other investigative tools like looking into bank accounts for transactions that might have occurred after his last known sighting, and after the discovery of all the documents at Kenny's home, the Metro Police decided that Kenny had, in all probability, parked his car in the desert and wandered off with no intention of ever coming back.
You know, we've had a lot of cases where folks have, their intention was to conceal themselves after suicide because it's embarrassing to them. It's embarrassing to their family.
I really do not believe that my dad would actually commit suicide. I just don't see that in him. He was too strong-willed.
Did he commit suicide? Not in effect intentionally, I think. At the end of the day, what I think happened, though, was that he was in such a dark place that it took away the fear of doing things that you might die doing. And so it gave him the power and the strength to do things that he might not otherwise have done in a more rational place.
No family member wants to really believe that someone that they loved is capable of taking their own life. It's a mechanism within us that it's so disturbing, it's so heartbreaking. It does not surprise me that close family members might feel like, they don't want to believe it. Listen, he afforded them that fantasy, if you will, by choosing the method that he chose if he did in fact take his own life.
And investigators believe that Kenny did everything he could to not be found.
He had told the girlfriend, according to her statement, that he wouldn't be located.
He told me if he did decide to do it, he would never do it in his house, and that nobody would ever find him.
And Kenny Veach, possibly more than anyone, had the skills to pull this off in the Sheep Mountain Range.
Say he had an accident, say he fell down and got bitten by a rattlesnake or whatever. even that would be difficult to locate. He was a really experienced hiker.
And I dropped way down this mountain into a canyon. And
the indications that he chose his own spot, the chances are that he chose it for a reason, that he would never be found.
In 2 days, he could have walked a long distance.
He knew the most remote places here. I think if he wanted to go missing and wanted to go without even the most professional search and rescue teams to find him, I think he would not have a hard time doing so.
In theory, Kenny could have walked days into the Mojave and miles into a cave or mine.
I believe that Kenny actually used his gun.
But Susan Veach believes this entire theory relies too much on the interview police had with Sharon.
And I guess Sharon was pushing that. Yeah, oh yeah, he was depressed and blah, blah, blah. Not for a minute do I think he committed suicide.
Investigators are confident in their methods.
People lie to the police all the time. I got lied to for a living. You don't just say, okay, well, person A said this, so that's the way it is. These type of investigations all are based on information. And where do you get the information from? You get it from friends, you get it from relatives, you get it from documents, you get it from devices. So this is all part of the critical parts of investigative work. I think this investigation was very thorough. But at some point, you can only do so much. And I think that criteria was met here.
When we come back, investigators do believe that there is still a chance for closure in this case.
This mystery might actually be solved.
And a message for amateur sleuths that might head into the desert looking for clues.
You better be prepared for your enemy.
In 2014, after making a promise to relocate a mysterious hidden cave that he said sent terrifying vibrations through his body, Kenny Veach seemingly disappeared off the face of the earth. His family have been left with so many questions and no definitive answers. Some of Kenny's online followers believe he formulated a plan to escape his financial woes and the burden of society. Others believe his body lies somewhere deep in the Sheep Mountain Range. There are some who even believe he met his end at the hands of some secret government agency.
I believe that by and by, somebody else is going to occupy the same space and that they will call law enforcement and he'll be located. Absolutely. The case is still open. It'll never be closed. All that information is still out there.
They said, you know, they would always keep the information that he hadn't been found, and if they went up looking for somebody else, they would still look for him. And that they had found one fella 5 years later after he disappeared.
We have had numerous cases where we have found people 2 to 3, 4 years later, and we have found evidence that has led us to their location, and we bring law enforcement in at that time.
One natural force that helps in long-term missing person searches in the desert? Rain.
The rain has a tendency of bringing evidence to light. It may bring it out of a wash, it might bring something out of a location, a nook or cranny, and then we're able to locate that item, and that helps us to zero in on a last known location, and then we'll begin searching from that region, and we search out. We've been very successful in locating numerous people over the course of years by searching after rainstorms.
And surely amateur detectives will also continue combing these mountains in the years ahead, hunting for any sign of Kenny Veach or the M Cave.
If you're a hobby enthusiast and you're drawn to go looking out there, all I say is you better be prepared for your enemy. And your enemy is the wilderness, and it is capable of taking your life.
This is much different than a wilderness that has trees and streams, food sources such as berries and things. There is nothing out here. You're on your own. What you bring in is all that you have, and if you do not come properly prepared, or if you become injured, you're in a tight spot.
You know, take your time, plan it, and always be thinking to yourself when things start to go a little bit south on you that I'm not going to panic. And if I start like running to try to get back to the truck before it gets dark, stop and sit down. Don't panic, that's it. After you don't panic, you'll be fine.
Bo has since been back out in the Sheep Mountain Range, but now he is turning his focus to finding Kenny's body.
Spend a couple days, a couple nights, and then just let my feet start walking. I think they're going to take me to Kenny's resting place. I know, I have a really good feeling that he's going to be in a certain elevation, facing a certain way, in a cave with brush pulled in front of it. I mean, it's really, really sad to think about that, but I'm going to find him.
What is driving Bo to search for Kenny's body?
For his family, because his family has no closure. They're going to be looking at news stories from Mexico on the beaches down in Cozumel and hoping that they see Kenny in the background drinking a beer. Because it could be, there's still that possibility.
My main goal is just to find an answer, anything, positive or negative, just an answer.
I keep thinking every November will be easier, and it never is. I miss him a lot. He was my best friend, and I drive through the city and I go, oh, I hiked that mountain ridge with Kenny, and I did that with Kenny.
Kenny Veach, the outdoorsman, the artist, the inventor, who tried to live life on his own terms.
My life's kind of an open book. It's just waiting for me to write the pages.
I'm proud of him. Can you honestly call any attempt to follow a dream a bad decision? I don't think so.
And what exactly is it about Kenny that has captured the imagination of so many? The circumstances of his disappearance are indeed strange, but could it be something deeper?
In a sense, I am happy because at the end of the day, he achieved his dream. He became famous for going out and hiking, and he brought the attention to the desert, and he's inspiring people, and that's what he wanted to do. And so in a weird, interesting, odd way, I think he's achieving his dream.
I'll be way, way, way out there.
Very pretty. And now Kenny's story has become part of the greater legacy and the mystery of the Mojave Desert that he loved so much.
I don't think this will ever go away. I think people will always be talking about this. I think if we found Kenny tomorrow, it'd still be talking about this 10 years into the future.
I never in my wildest dreams would have thought that he'd become an urban legend.
A legend of a man larger than life, but frail and human, who whether in this world or someplace else, is trying to find his way. To this day, there have been no confirmed reports of anyone finding the M Cave as Kenny described it. Authorities warn that hikers in the Mojave Desert should exercise extreme caution and follow strictly local safety rules and regulations. If you have information as to the whereabouts of Kenny Veach, please call the Las Vegas Metro Police at 702-828-2907. The investigation remains ongoing.
I remember there was time he was probably 7, and he come running in the house with this wild gerbil he caught, just so excited, and that gerbil was chewing his thumb. It was just gnawed onto his thumb, and he was laughing that Kenny laugh and trying to peel that gerbil off of his fingers without hurting it, and just laughing and laughing. And that was Kenny.